does anything an actor can, like a funky jam. Will he fight or will he sleaze? He's got the fans' heartbeat. Women hope he's there to please, sweeping them off their feet. These are the Simon Yam Files, smooth as disco nights, strutting down the silver aisles and in his bell-bottom tights. From Hong Kong to Hollywood, he's a groovy man. Every flick he's understood, ladies run to catch him if they can.
This is HKB, and today is another episode of the Simon Yam Files. Episode 8, and we're going to take a look at 2023 film The Comeback, starring Simon Yam and Andy On. Now, at the beginning of this film, Andy On is leading a hit team, and the hit team seems to be taking out rival gangs and selective targets. And we can see in the background that one of the targets is Simon Yam. And we cut to a scene outside a shop in a street that's pouring with rain. It's quite moody, it's quite atmospheric. And as Andy On and his team try to take out Simon Yam, he wreaks havoc amongst them, causing them much pain and agony as they try and take him out. The whole scene culminates with a girl that is watching Simon. She sees him take a nail gun nailed to the head. The character is Arzen, and she's played by the very beautiful Jiang Pei Yao. We then cut away, and it's 3 years later, and Simon is known as Uncle Wah, and it's the same street, and the girl, Arzen, is now looking after children in an orphanage. There's one particularly endearing little girl that really likes Uncle Hua. At this stage of the film, it's very unclear as to how and why Simon's still alive, what he's doing in this street, but all we know is that he's become favoured guardian of the street. He seems to deal with antiques, watches and clocks and particulars like that, and he looks after everybody. He is very popular and has a lot of friends. There's also a vagrant on the street that's played by the stalwart Yuen Wah. Really good to see him in a more recent role. And we also have some other familiar faces. Right at the beginning of the film you have Weasley in there, and in a series of flashbacks we have the late Norman Choi in there, and it's good to see the scenes with him and Simon Yam. Seeing two such classic Hong Kong actors on the screen together gives a lot of joy to all of the Hong Kong movie fans. Andy On, he's very good in his villainous role. He has some good action scenes in this. His screen time is put to good use. I would say that the story in this one is a little bit shaky, but Simon's performance in it is good. I think the film's main problem is not knowing whether it wants to be completely serious or wants to be quite humorous and light-hearted. Tonally, it shifts up and down quite regularly. I feel that if they had made this a more serious film, it might have had a little bit more impact, because you have good quality actors in there that can pull off what would be required. That being said, this film isn't a complete loss. You have Simon Yam doing his Simon Yam thing, and that, as we all know, is always cool. There's some good action sequences as he gradually gets bits and pieces of his memory back throughout the film. We discover more and more about the relationship between him, Andy On, and Norman Choi. Everybody in this seems to put in a good performance. The story is a little bit weak. Some of the effects on the CG stuff is also a little bit on the iffy side, but I've seen much worse. I would question some of the choices, which seem a little bit ridiculous, like Andy On taking a bath in a bathhouse that seems to be filled with dead bodies underneath the surface. Why? Who would do that? It makes little sense and seems a very odd choice. But if you can put that aside and just go into this for a man Simon Yam and see him in a more recent film, giving us a bit of action, giving us a bit of what we want to see, then it's a fun recommendation. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it very much if you'd take the time to hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. And hopefully we'll catch you next time on the next episode of the Simon Yam Files.
不予反抗，越级击毙。
These are the Simon Yam Files, smooth as disco nights, strutting down the silver aisles and in his bell-bottom tights. From